Okay, Brian McKenzie back here at WellnessFX with Justin.
Yep.
And so let's just quick run through. We've basically discussed, what we look at for performance, how our fuel system actually works, and how we can suppress it or how we can maximize it, and then having this primal gene, PGC1 alpha, and how we actually turn that thing on, which is our primal gene, and how we turn that on and how we can actually suppress that as well, and getting this whole system to work through the mitochondrial biogenesis, right? So just a quick overview how we would want to maximize this, or how would we get here to maximize this?
Right, how do we apply this
Yes.
to you, the individual, to kind of use these concepts in both measurement and performance to optimize your health and performance. So from my perspective, you want to get performance metrics, and that's something that you do with each and every athlete at every level, correct?
Correct.
So you are grabbing baseline metrics, performance metrics. You want to know how this athlete or this animal is performing at every stage.
Big time, and so with that, and what I do is, typically, and this isn't in any particular order, but with performance metrics, we're looking at sport specific. Am I training an athlete that is actually in a different sport other than CrossFit, okay? Or, is it running, is it triathlon, is it, swimming specific, whatever. I have markers for that sport as to where the athlete is making gains or not making gains.
Right.
Okay, progression or not. CrossFit, are you a CrossFit athlete? That's simple. Or are you a sport-specific athlete and we're introducing CrossFit or some sort of strength and conditioning program? We should have markers within that realm as well to show us what's going on. That can go anything from mobility to strength to whatever. Okay. I also have strength in there. We want to make sure that those markers are up as well. Right? We want a progression in all this. What are you doing for a warm-up? How are you turning all this system on? Are you just jumping into something, or are you warming up properly? Are you taking care of the body? How are you cooling down? What's that process look like?
Right.
But the foundation for this whole thing is really nutrition and what you're doing before and after. That is what I really want the athlete to understand.
Right.
And I want to be looking at and knowing, okay, so what happened today with training? What happened with all these markers right here? And what did that look like? And when we can take a look at that and still things aren't making sense, that's when we have to really start looking into all this stuff and testing to understand that.
Absolutely, and no matter what the performance metrics are, if they're now operating at their peak performance, or if they're at kind of a low point, or if they're coming back in from an injury, let's get your metrics. Let's get some of these biomarkers, hemoglobin A1C, your thyroid level, your growth hormone level, and just see where they're at. There are other metrics that we want to get, like homocysteine, which can indicate if we're overtraining or if we have B vitamin deficiencies. We didn't talk about this when we were talking about fuel, but at every step of these biochemical processes, it's taking minerals, it's taking B vitamins to do that. And so you want to see that B vitamin status while you can marry it to these performance metrics, and then you get to follow the athlete along and you get to fine-tune them.
Well, this is the importance of those building blocks, and the minerals in those building blocks. This is their function. They have a function within the system, and if that function isn't working properly, we have to understand that. And this is the way we understand that.
Exactly, and in the one analogy that we were talking about off camera was kind of, this is an engine. We're an engine on the cell level.
Building an engine.
Exactly.
With what it is I'm doing, but with this, we're also building that engine, that fueling system.
Right.
And we're either going to build that engine and turn it into a 12-cylinder,
right,
let's just say,
right,
or we're going to, if we're solely focusing on carbohydrates, we're really just revving the RPMs up in a six-cylinder engine,
yep,
and just pegging it to the floor and just the whole time.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, if we only have a top end of 9,000 RPM, you're right. If you only have 6 cylinders based upon what influences and inputs, your top end's 9,000 RPM. 6-cylinder.
Yeah.
But if you build a 12-cylinder engine and you tack it out to 9,000 RPMs, you got twice the horsepower.
Yeah.
And that's what we really want. And so dovetailing it back, food for thought to leave you with is basically, you have your nutrition status during recovery and downtime, where something like caloric restriction or being super efficient at that point starve the beast. make that animal angry, that's what you want to do.
It doesn't mean all week long we're starving the beast.
Not all week long, yeah. And then during your training, for training, you still may want to starve the beast beginning, but then come in with your high-octane fuels and your fuel recovery system, like a 3-fuel. And then when you want to perform, then you're going to preload with these great fuels and then kind of take it to the next level.
So not only are we looking to build the athlete and the system through here, which, everything above here is what most athletes are really just paying attention to, versus taking a look at the nutrition, where we're taking this fueling system and we're balancing that nutrition or living off of principles on building this mitochondrial system to generate everything properly in order to turn this gene on in order to work most effectively, so that all of this is able to recover and get back to training at 100%.
Right.
Versus suppressing that whole thing and making the recovery process almost impossible. Right? So we're basically building this huge 12-cylinder engine and then going back to the training and going full throttle, and now we can go past the 6. We've got this. How many RPMs do we got now?
Right.
Whole different engine.
Exactly. So at the end of the day, performance matters. These measurable metrics matter. But through modern science and technology, we can start looking under the hood now and kind of figuring out how to maximize that whole body performance.
But if we continue to hammer in this stuff and not live that thing the same way that we're talking about right now, then we're actually we're doing the athlete a disservice.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Thanks.